This morning I was teaching a class on the applique work table in EQ8, and we truly just ran out of time, so I promised I would make a video showing how to make a block that I showed in class. So let's just go back to the home screen. If I was coming in to start, I would say design a block from scratch. And then we want applique, so it can either be the applique tab or the pieced and applique. It doesn't really matter. We do want it to be a block. So if I'm on just the applique tab, the block would have a background. The motif would not. A block can be put on any layer of the quilt. The motif cannot be put on the first layer of a quilt. So I'm going to say block, and then I'm going to make my block 12 inches by 12 inches. There's nothing magical about that. And this would have defaulted to 24 by 24, but I'm not going to be snapping to the points on my grid, so I would like to not have them there, making it so more busy while I'm looking at it. So I'm going to reduce it to the fewest number of snaps I can have, which is 4 by 4. I'm not turning on the graph paper, so I don't care what numbers are there. And then as far as snaps, I'm going to turn on the second one, the fourth one, and the fifth one. To start, I'm not going to have my autofill show, so I'm going to turn that off. I will turn it on and off as I'm working so that I can see whether a patch is closed or how it's layered. So I do have an image to trace. It's just a picture of a tile that I found online. So I'm going to click on the trace image icon, and then I'm going to say import image, and you need to know where you saved that image. Mine is in my download folder. So it's right here, tile image 1, and no, it wasn't there just a second ago. I had to go get it off another computer. So I'm going to select it and say open, and a dialog box opens up. I'm not terribly worried about this, but what I do, I'm not going to resize it. I'll use it as is, but I can use the slider to make it lighter for when I'm tracing it. In the dialog box, you can't see what it's doing, so you can slide it up to, I don't know, 68, 70 and say okay. But I do want to point out that when we come back and we're on the trace image table, that we have some options here for resizing. I'm not going to worry about that, but we do have the slider right here, so I can slide it and actually see what's happening, and that's probably too light. If I go way down here, it's so dark I won't be able to see my line. So again, like I said, probably up somewhere around 68, 70. I'm good with that. So I do not have to use everything that's in here. I'm just going to use part of it. So I'm finished with putting the image on the table. So I'm going to click back on the drawing tools. And now I'm ready to start drawing. I do not have to draw every single item. I can draw and copy, and I don't care if it's exactly like this. This is a guide for me to start. So the first thing I did was draw these sort of heart-shaped pieces in here. One way to do it would be to go shapes and drag a heart and then edit it. Another way would be the draw tool. Let's just do that. And the Bezier tool. I'm going to actually not even draw the whole thing. Let me just zoom in so we can really see where I'm working. Just going to draw half of this. So I'm going to start here. Whoops, you got to click and drag, you can't let up. And it doesn't have to be perfect when you start, because we can use the edit tool to come back and fix it. That's not bad. And then down, and it doesn't matter that it's getting way funky out there. And about there. So I have it roughed in. So now I'm going to switch to my edit tool, and I'm going to click on the line. And so now I can drag these around. I can bring this down a little bit further. I can grab the handles if it's like a curved one, or this one's a corner. So I'm actually going to switch that one to a smooth because I don't want a jag in there. So let's go here. I can drag it there. Let's try it. We can also just grab the line and drag it, or I can grab the nodes and drag them. That's not bad. I might lift it up just here a little bit. And if you really want it nice and smooth, it's going to take a little bit. So I'm going to bring that one in. I can hover over the node and see what it is. It's a middle corner node. Oops. I would rather it not be a corner. Let's come down here. I'm going to change this one to smooth. Going to change that one to smooth. I actually want everything except for like this one to be smooth. Let's change that one to smooth. Did I already do that one? Yes. All right. We can bring this in a little bit. I'm pretty good with where that is right there. And I may not need all of these nodes either, so I could delete nodes as well. Let's just drag the whole thing up a little bit. Move this in. And so with the smooth nodes, the handles on opposite sides work separately. They still stay straight, but you can pull in on one side and make it longer on another side. There, this one actually is pretty good. I can pull it in just a little bit. And nope, I'm gonna leave that where it is. I'm gonna grab this and pull it up. Okay, so that's half. I could fuss with this for a lot longer, but I don't want the whole video to be just this part. So now I'm going to switch to the pick tool. I'm going to click on that line, and then I'm going to clone it. I'm going to flip it left to right, and then I'm going to drag it over. And this tile is not perfectly symmetrical either, so I'm going to just play with it till I'm happy with it. I want to rotate this a little bit more, and I don't want to have to guess on the degrees. So I'm holding down the control key on my keyboard and clicking on the crosshairs in there, and then I can free rotate this. I can click on the bullseye and I can move it. Still not quite what I want. So I could go back to edit and I could bring this in. Oops, undo. Let's do this one and bring it in just a little bit. Bring this back. Not that much. Probably making a bigger mess here. So I could have left it just symmetrical. All right, I'm okay with that. I want to join these. So this node up here, I'm going to move one of them, and it's snapped in right there. And that's because I have these snap points on. So it is now not the end, it is a middle corner node. I'm going to change that to smooth because I don't want a sharp point up there. So I'm going to click on it. Bring this back. I could make it symmetrical too, but we're going to just stick with smooth. And it is not joined down here either, because if I do change and put on the hide show autofill, it doesn't fill. It is not a finished patch yet. So let's just grab this one and drag it up. And I think it just snapped shut. It did. So if I hover over that node, it's the middle corner node in a closed curve with 14 arcs, and if I click on here, it fills that patch in, and I think I want to smooth that out a little bit more once I see that patch. So I can edit with or without the patch on. All right, I can live with that. I'm going to turn it back off because it just gets in the way when I'm trying to see everything else. Oh, maybe we'll drag this down a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to use draw, and I'm going to end up using the brush stroke, but let me just show you. I don't have as much control over the brush stroke when I do it myself. It kind of gets wavy, so let me undo that. I like to use the straight line, so I can go straight up, and then you can switch to the brush stroke and double click, and I found for some reason it will not work while I'm zoomed in, so I'm going to just zoom back to my full block and now double click on this, and it changed it to the brush stroke tool. So now I think I can zoom in and really look at it. All right, so on the so my default contour would have been this one, and that's not what I want. I do want, so I can change that one. That's going the wrong direction. Let's change it to this one. Now it's narrower down at this end, but I want it curved up on the top. So I'm going to switch to the second end cap, and that's way too big, but that's okay. We can change it. And then let's reduce the minimum width. That's better. Boldness. We can play with that, but I don't. Let's take it down. No, I want it a little bit more than that. All right. So anytime we're using this tool, we can go into edit, and I can change this line. Let's just drag it down so you see it's coming down closer. Let's drag it up to, so now it's fitting better. And I'm going to say I'm good with that. I'm going to switch to the pick tool and click on it. I'm zoomed in again, and it doesn't like that. This is very strange. I just discovered it. So I'm going to select it, and now I have to convert this to a patch. It won't do it automatically. If I do the autofill, you'll see it's just empty. So I do want it to be a patch, so I'm going to say convert to patch, turn the autofill on, and it is filled in. Okay, let's see if zoom in will work for the next thing I want to do. I can edit this after it's a patch. It's going to be easier to see here, so I could drag these in a little bit here. I'm good with what it is right now. So I'm going to switch back to the pick tool. I'm going to select it. I'm going to clone it. I'm going to click on the control key on my keyboard and then click on the crosshairs, and then I can free rotate this. Drag it over here. I think it needs to go here a little bit. Okay. This is too big, which is fine. I can either use a resize tool, or I could change the size here, but for me it's easier to grab those handles and resize it. So you can either click off this shape, or you can hold the control key down again and click in that bullseye. Actually, I'm going to use a resize because it would have worked better with the handles, because now it's going to be skewed. Well, maybe not. Well, that's not bad. Move it over here, and maybe a little bit shorter. I'm good with that. I thought I was going to have to do something different. So now I'm just going to clone that, and I'm going to flip it left to right and drag it over here on top of this one. I can do the free rotate again, hold down the control key, click on the crosshairs, and I can rotate it in better and move it. I'm happy with that. If I click here, because I copied and pasted, it is a patch already. And now I want to put the circle in here. I think that I get better circles with the ellipse tool than with the shape tool. So I'm going to click on that, choose the circle, click and drag, and you get an oval with that unless you hold down the control key, and then you'll get a circle. So I let go, I released it, and I'm going to place it there. And this is another one that I have to convert it to a patch. If I look, it's just an empty circle or an outline right now. I'm going to say convert to patch, and now it is done. So let's go turn that back off, and I'm going to go over and work on just one of these feathers. Zoom out a little bit. Well, okay. We'll go with that size for now. I'm going to switch back to my draw tool, and again, I'm going to draw with my straight line. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to change it to the brush stroke by clicking on it and then double clicking on my line. And I'm going to change my end caps to the round ones. Maximum width, I want to, or no, the minimum width, I want it narrower. Boldness. Let's click on the edit tool again and edit this line in the middle, make it shorter. Bring it up here as well. I think I've got to use the pick tool now. If I click on that, nope. Oh yeah, there it is. I want to go smaller with my minimum width, so see how it's shrinking it down here. Pretty good with that. I'm going to go back to the edit and drag this back up a little bit. I'm happy with that. Okay, so I do need to convert it to a patch. So I went to the pick tool and I went to convert patch, because once I have started playing with it, when I go back to the draw, it doesn't work. Okay, so then these feathers are actually have a little bit of a curve to them. So I could draw it with the Bezier tool, or I could go over to shapes and I could grab this petal. I'm going to drag it from here. Whoops, wrong direction. Undo. So it's going from the pointy end. I'm going to draw it here. And then I'm going to edit it. So I'm going to zoom in so I can see it. That'll work. And I'm going to click on it with my edit selected. I'm going to move this down here. I'm going to move this over here. Whoops. Bring in this side a little bit. I can also grab the line and drag it in, which is actually a little bit easier. Nope, don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Let's do this. I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going, well, let's, whoops, that doesn't work. I'm going to go ahead and leave that point there. Maybe I want to come back over to this one and add a point down at the bottom. So if I double click right where I want the node, it should work. There it is. It added one in there. And I could then maybe delete these guys. I want this node to be a corner. This up. This up. Zoom out so I can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to bring this down. I actually can probably delete these. All right, I'm off of my notes now. I'm going to delete that. Yeah, that's better. And then I can move this node over and it can be a sharp point as well. Drag this out a little bit, this out a little bit. Okay. So now I'm going to just copy this one or clone it. Clone, I'm going to move it over to here. Do the control and the free rotate. There, and then I'm going to switch to edit and I'm going to bring this in and out and here and up a little bit, and I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to do the pick tool again. Let me zoom out and then zoom back in so I can see where I want to be. I'm going to click on this one that I just modified. I'm going to clone it, drag it over here, and the control key, click on the crosshairs to get my free rotate. Rotate, and now I'm going to go to the edit, bring this up, and I'm pretty good with that. Okay, so now rather than drawing the three on this side, I'm going to just select those three, clone them, and let's try flip diagonally right, move it, and I am Pretty happy with that. I'm going to leave it instead of trying to match the tile exactly. Let's zoom out. So now I need to put the circle in here. I'm going to go to my ellipse tool again. I'm going to zoom in. Or actually, I don't even have to do that. Let's zoom back out rather than drawing it in again. I can just pick. I can click on this one, and it works best with Applique if you get into the practice of clicking on the outline, not in the middle of it. So I'm going to put it right here, and let's just resize it up to, let's say 110. I'm just guessing the other place I could do it where I could see it happening. Just a second. Maybe this doesn't work. Still not quite as big as I want. I can also change it over here in the width and the height. Let's try going to 0.6. And if I want it to stay a circle, I need to have the same measurement in both. Oh, and I didn't clone it. Whoops. Let's clone it now and bring this one back. And go back down to like whoops, not that far. 0.5, tab, 0.5. Oh, I don't like that. It ended up being more square. So let's just delete that. I'm using my delete on my keyboard and draw a new one. So I kind of don't mind that I mess up on here sometimes because I want you to see it's an easy fix. All right. So now I have these parts, and I actually need this done 4 times. So let's go to the pick tool, and it's everything on the screen right now. So I'm going to say Control A and select it. I need to clone it. If I forget to do that, then I've just got to come back, clone, and let's rotate it 90 degrees and drag it down into place. And it's not going to match exactly. And the circle, what happened here? All right, that's okay. So I just don't have, that circle needs to come back here. So I'm going to click off of this and then click on the circle and drag it back into place. So now I have part of my block. I'm going to Control A again, and I'm going to clone it, and let's try flipped. I don't think that's, well, no, I don't think that's going to work. Let's just rotate it 180 degrees. And move it over into place. Okay, so let's turn on and it did it again with the circle. It does some funny things with these circles when I'm cloning, so just move it back into place. And here's the other one. Move it into place. And I kind of think I want to move this, well, maybe not, but this down just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to click up here on the show hide autofill, and you can see the patches that are there, and these circles I forgot to convert them to a patch. So all I have to do is click on them, convert to patch, convert to patch, convert to patch, and convert to patch. At some point you might want to add this to the sketchbook, but let's look at it without the tile behind it. So to do that, we just go over here on hide show image for tracing, and there's what I have so far in my applique. Let's turn that back on. So the next thing I need to put in here is my leaves. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the autofill again, and let's see. So I'm going to use the shape tool for that, and let's try the teardrop. I'm going to put it in here and drag it, and no, it's not big enough yet, but we're going to go to the edit tool, and let's just drag it. I may want another node in there. Oops. Zoom in a little bit. Let's put another node in. So I'm just going to double click. Let's make this one smooth. Maybe it already is. Oh, I don't want you. here. Let's bring this up. Draw this in. Maybe I can just grab it here. And take this out. I'm not loving that one, so I'm going to try a different shape. Let's just take this, delete it. Let's try the heart shape instead. We'll go here, and the heart actually draws from the top down, so let's go this way. Oh yeah, I like that a lot better. Now if you don't want it sitting on this, you can center it. And now I'm going to edit, and I'm going to pull this down a little bit. I can flatten these guys out. And I do want some under the petals, because with applique you don't want to just butt pieces up next to each other usually. It's okay. Zoom out. I'll take this, the pick tool, and move it just a little bit. I don't like how it's landing on the leaf. Let's zoom back in. And edit it just a little bit more. Not that one, this one. Just drag it in a little bit. Like I said, it doesn't have to follow the tile exactly. That is a guide. All right, I'm good with that. If I do the patch, there it is. Now I want to add the vein. I'm going to go back again to my draw, and I'm going to use the straight line again and just draw a vein that goes beyond the leaf, because I don't want it to stop right there. So my straight line, and I'm going to bet that I can't use this when I'm zoomed in. That is just a glitch. So go. And now it's there. I'm going to change my end caps to the round. I am going to, my minimum width is going to come way down. We can zoom in now because it's switched. I can grab this and, whoops, and pull it down, pull it down, pull it down. I'm actually pretty good with that. So let's convert that to a patch. And if we do this, so you can see that it is sitting on top. This is really good also for seeing where things are layered. Let's go zoom out. And I want to copy this and put it in the four different places. So I'm going to use my pick tool. I'm going to, whoops, I want to come bigger than that. All right, so it's grabbing that circle too. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and click that circle. So it just took it out. Now I'm going to clone it, and let's rotate it 90 degrees and put it in here. Let's clone it again while it's selected, rotate 90 degrees and put it in here. And clone it one more time and rotate 90 degrees and put it here. Okay, so now all I have left is my flower. I'm going to turn the autofill back off. And I'm going to use the heart shape again to do those petals. So the heart, I'm going to drag it from here and down into the circle. Didn't quite do it where I wanted it, but that's okay. Use my pick tool. I can, if I use the corner and hold down the control key, it will constrain it and keep it proportional. I'm going to put it there, but I do want to make it wider. So let's play with the width and see what happens up right here. Move it. It's a little bit too wide, but let's switch to the edit tool now. Click on this, and I'm going to zoom in so we can see it. There and there. Maybe a little wider this way. A little wider this way. Up a little bit more. So when you have a petal shape that you like, and I I actually want to make this, well, maybe not. A little bit wider because I want it to cover that vein that's coming in here. Or I could shorten the vein too, but let's just do this. Okay, so let's fill the patches and see. I'm good with that. Let's turn that back off. And let me zoom out. So now we want to repeat this petal. So I'm going to use the pick tool, click on the petal, clone it, rotate it 90 degrees and drag it into place. Clone it, rotate it 90 degrees, drag it into place. And clone it, rotate it 90 degrees and drag it into place. All right. So if you want these lines that are in the flower right here, we can add those. It's not an applique, it would be an open curve or an open shape, so it would just be lines. I would put those in before I put the circle in because I would like that embroidery to go under the circle. So let's just go back to the draw tab, or the draw, and the straight or the line, and let's just zoom in. I'm going to turn off while I'm doing this auto join segments when drawing because I don't want them to join. So I'm going to draw a line here and I'm going to draw it into the circle, a line here, draw it into the circle, and a line here and draw it into the circle. And now I'm going to pick all three of those and I'm going to clone it and rotate it 90 degrees and drag it into place. And again, clone it, rotate 90 degrees, drag it into place, clone it, rotate 90 degrees, and drag it into place. So now if I do the patch tool, you see I just have the lines, or not the patch, the autofill. Okay, the last thing we have to do is that center circle. I am not doing those clamshells out on the outside edge. So you could either use the circle and the shapes, or you can use the ellipse tool. So if I click, hold down the control key and drag, it keeps it in a circle, but you see it kind of flattens it with this, and it's not exactly a circle. Let's just try changing this, the whole thing, to 0.861 and see what happens. Tab out of it. That's a little bit better. So I'm going to do that. And then let's zoom out so we can see the whole thing. Let's turn on the autofill patches and let's turn off the or hide the image for tracing. And there's my applique. And I could tweak it a little more. I'm not going to for this video. As far as I'm concerned, this is finished. So let's go over to the color tab. Remember, we are on block, and right now there's nothing back there. It's actually the polydraw. And if I hide the applique, it's just a blank block. Let's turn the applique back on. When I switch to the color tab, it automatically fills the background with a block. So let's color this. Whatever you want, it doesn't make any difference. Let's make it a red flower, green leaves. Let's do light yellow in the veins. And I got right here, I don't like that, so let's go back to the draw. Let's turn off the autofill. And I'm going to drag this heart down a little bit more because I don't want that gap in there. I'm just going to drag it down. And it's behind the petals. Let's do the autofill again. And let's switch over to the color. And I don't have that gap anymore. I'm going to go to the darker yellow, do that there. Let's add some blue. Let's do some more yellow, like in here. It's really whatever you want to do. Darker one again, here. Oh, sure, why not? And, oh, I don't know. How about this? That's okay. The background can also be colored while we're here. Let's just do a little light gray. When you're happy with it, you're going to click Add to Sketchbook. Yep, I know. I'm not going to create. Okay, I want to show you one more thing before I end this video, and that's if I want to add lettering to something. So let's go change to the quilt work table. Let's just do a horizontal layout. Let's do, whoops, I didn't say, horizontal layout. So that's the type of quilt. For the layout, I want it to be 1 block by 1 block, and let's make it a 12-inch block. And then I'm going to go to the borders. I'm going to leave the first default border, which is 1 inch. I'm going to add another border, and let's make it 4 inches. All right. I'm going to go over to design, and I'm going to set the block. So there's my block. I'm going to set it, and then I need to color, or I'm going to color my fabric tools. I'm going to use the eyedropper and get this blue, put it in here, hold down my control key to fill all of that border, and then I'm going to use my eyedropper again and get the background, hold down my control key and fill this border. Okay, I want to add lettering, so before we leave the fabric tools, choose what color you want for your lettering. Otherwise, you're going to have to come back to choose it. I'm going to choose the red again. Maybe I'll go even darker. And if you notice, the text tools are not activated when we are on layer 1 of the quilt. We have to switch to layer 2. They become active. And now I have the option to set text. Below that are my fonts. That is any font that is on your computer. But just because it's there does not mean that it works well for applique, so you can play with that. You can decide what size in inches you want your text. I made a 4-inch border, so 3 inches might be good. You can also have more formatting, which is bold, italics, underline. You can do your justification, left justified, centered, right justified. That would be if you're doing more than just 1 row of text. So let's go ahead and set the text. You'd have that selected. You have to hold down the Shift key and then draw a box. And it's going to bounce back, but it's going to have your cursor so you can start typing. Roses are. All right, so I have that, and as long as the box is around it, I can still make changes over here, like changing my size. I can change my font. The font's kind of cool to just be on one and then use the arrow keys on your keyboard and scroll through fonts. So like there's some that probably are not going to be good for it with the little holes in it. All right. When you find one you like, whoops, it's not rose. I can come back while it's still selected. Come in here. Come on. Okay. Roses. And correct things. I can also reselect that with the text tool if I need to make changes. Let's make this bold. When I'm happy with it, I can either click the adjust tool or just click off of it. I'm going to do the adjust tool and click on it. With the adjust tool, I can move it around in the border. Let's say you wanted it on your side border. Remember the free rotate? You can't see the crosshairs in here, but if you hold down your control key and click in the middle of it, your cursor changes to crosshairs with a circle arrow on it. Once that's there, you can rotate. Whoops. You can rotate this. You should be able to rotate this. All right, try that again. There we go. When it turns to an arrow out on your bars, and then I can drag it down. So if I wanted text going around my whole border, that's how I could do it. Let's undo that. And then I can add another box down here. Shift key, drag, ED. Maybe we want a different font for that. Sure, why not? The adjust tool, and I can move it up where I want it. So that's how you add text to a quilt. When you go to print this, let's go to the print and export. If I was making this applique, I would need templates to cut this out. So I have a couple of options. I can say templates, but you have to select, that was a good reminder, you have to select what you want templates for first. So I'm on layer 2 and I can only select things right now that are on layer 2. So I'm going to click on the words. I'm going to say templates. So I'm going to use the size from the quilt. Honestly, with applique, I rarely want a seam allowance. I'm going to take the check mark out of there. You can print the key or not. If I'm doing fused applique, I want this reversed for tracing. So I'm going to say mirror block, and then let's just look at the print preview. So there are my templates for the letters. Let's close that. Close. If I wanted to print the template for this, I would go to layer 1. I would have to click on the block, and then I can say templates. Use the size from the quilt. Again, I would not use a seam allowance. If you want to, you can mirror this, and we can print preview. So here's our templates. It also put the template in here for the background. I do not want that. I would cut that with a rotary cutter. So just click on it. When it turns red, say delete. So now it's taking up less paper. You can delete other patches too if you want to, because there's multiples of the same shape. If you make changes on this, make sure you print before closing your preview, because as soon as you close your preview, all of your changes are gone. So those are the templates. So let's say then I have my pieces to trace like on my fusible web, but I want something to lay it out on. I can go print block, and now I have options down here. I can print an outline drawing, or I can print it as an applique pattern. So let's look at both. Go preview. So that's my applique pattern. That is how it would look when it's finished. So that would be great for laying out things. Close. If I switch it to an outline drawing preview, then I can see everywhere where it is overlapping stuff. So those are the differences in printing. Okay, this video has gone on long enough, so I am going to cut this off. I hope this was helpful. Give it a shot. If you want a really smooth, perfect applique, it's going to take more time.